no!
You're listening to On the Pole Podcast with your pole sitter, Earl.
Hook to it and just jerk it off.
And outside front row, Derek Carpoletti.
That is shoving the hot dog in the bun right there.
All right, everybody. Welcome to episode 3 of the On the Pole Podcast. As always, I'm the pole sitter, Earl. I had to say that nice and slow. Make sure everybody heard it. I'm the pole sitter. This is a pole-related show. And so we're going to go over the Daytona 500 in this episode. It's a Tuesday episode instead of a Monday episode because of, I'm sure anyone listening to this knows we had a wet weekend in Daytona. And most of the week got rained out. We had excellent duels. But, Saturday and Sunday was a huge letdown. And then I was afraid on Monday that things were going to happen after the Xfinity race got moved. But all in all, the races went down, and we're here to record this podcast. Derek, I'm going to welcome outside front row Derek to the podcast now. And how's it going, Derek?
Oh, it's going pretty good. You know, there's one thing in life that I always thought I could trust, and that was Larry Mack's Daytona 500 countdown. He was wrong. He should have added overtime to that thing.
Yeah.
So we had big plans. We had Sunday. We had it all set up. We were going to have meatballs. We had the nasty beast on hand at the house. Chicken wing dip, the whole bit. Then we get the heartbreaking news at 10 a.m. that they're just canceling the race. So I'm stuck with like 45 meatballs. It's a huge tragedy, honestly.
Yeah.
But
that's
we're
the
able
biggest
to
tragedy
start
of the weekend.
Oh, for sure. I had to drink all that nasty beast myself.
Jesus.
But we were able to
you
get
are
the
a nasty beast.
I'm the nastiest beast. But we're able to get things moving, and they got to start running the race on Monday. I was stuck at work for the first 20 laps or so. I jump in it probably wasn't 20 laps, probably like 4 laps, because I got in the truck lap 6. I hear Jimmy Johnson was involved in a wreck, so I instantly teared up. I looked like that Indian from those old commercials. I just had one single tear run down my face.
Oh my god. It hurt twice as much. Where Petty Blue Car and Jimmy Johnson. It was one of the storylines I was looking forward to the most about the 500.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he showed so much promise in the kind of. Well, and the end result didn't look like he showed promise, but he did show a lot of promise in the duels. But then almost got beat by JJ. What is it? What's his name?
JJ. It's funny you're pretending not to know JJ Yaley. Like JJ Yaley's the craziest story because he went from such high highs to he's just been around forever.
Well, I was thinking, and I was like, I kept wanting to say JJ Haley, but was that Justin Haley's original name?
It was.
That sounds too fluent. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that he switched to using Justin so that they wouldn't mix up. But I think there were races in his rookie year in the Truck Series where he was JJ Haley. Yeah.
Oh.
That's a good factoid. So the 500 went off, and William Byron in the number 24 Exalta Hendrick Chevrolet Camaro ZL1. It was a Chevy, by the way. Won the Daytona 500. How does that feel? Growing up a Jeff Gordon fan and everything like that. William Byron won the 500. I mean, what was the excitement? What was the feeling?
I know I'm probably supposed to feel as like a special warmth, being like the 40 years on the day William Byron wins his first 500, 24 car, the flames, the whole bit. But I honestly, I felt nothing, I think William Byron, he's a tremendous talent, and I was happy for him. Hendrick, the whole bit, but like Hendrick, like the drivers now just don't have the same feel that like when a Jeff Gordon would win or a Jimmy Johnson would win, or even when Dale Jr. would win. I don't know. Maybe they do it too much. I don't know, but just
maybe
didn't really have
backwards
that.
enough.
Yeah. And I would like to say that maybe they're too boring, but I mean, Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson were also pretty boring people, so I don't know what it is that makes them. It's just not the same. Even when Larson wins and Bowman wins, I mean, Bowman is pretty pulseless most of the time, anyways. But
I feel like people like to
um,
say Bowman doesn't have a personality, but that's his personality. He's the only guy in the field that is like that, who's just dead on the inside.
yeah. So I don't know. I was more excited when Ross made that move for the win there. But I mean, we'll circle back to that. But
Yeah.
it was cool. So I was watching. Before you give me your take on the HMS win, I was watching Jeff Gordon walk through the grass, like talking to people. I just wanted to mute the TV and put my own like commentary over it of like what are the NFL YouTube videos where they voice
Oh
over
yeah,
with.
it's bad lip reading. Yeah,
Yeah,
bad lip reading NASCAR edition.
I just pictured him out there with his double chin, like. So does this mean we get cake tomorrow? Cake in the shop? Are we ordering pizza? Is there a pizza party?
I'm
Fat
gonna
Jeff
drink a
Gordon
whole
stuff.
2 liter of Pepsi.
So what did you think of the way that it all unfolded? Hendrick won 40 years,
Yeah, I
24,
mean,
48.
William Byron winning the 500 is great. I'm proud of William Byron. Happy for William Byron. I don't have to be proud of him, but I like William Byron, and he's gonna make a great Daytona 500 champ. It really feels like it's his time to be champion. He won all those races last year. Now he's got the 500 championship, and I feel like he's the star at Hendrick Motorsports right now. I know it's supposed to be Kyle Larson. It's supposed to be Chase Elliott, but Larson kind of had a down year for Larson standards. And Chase Elliott, obviously, with the injury and everything. William Byron's the guy holding the torch right now. He's got the big crown jewel wins. I think he won the 600 last year, right? So,
I think Ryan Blaney did.
okay. So, yeah, Willie B won it the year before, I believe.
He'll win it
So,
this year for sure.
yeah, for sure. But yeah, I liked it. I really liked it. And the race overall was just good. Like, there was a big one and there was a small wreck here or there, but it was a good race. And there wasn't a lot to call out because they were jogging for position, and the wrecks that did happen were just kind of incidental racing incidents kind of stuff. I mean, Keselowski's out there, so you can only do so much.
Yeah, it was a good. I would hate to say it was uneventful because it was uneventful for the most part, but it was also like uneventful for Daytona standards. But it was a lot of pack racing, a lot of passing. There was pit strategy. There was a little bit of drama with like wheels almost falling off and such. But like the whole package as a whole was a phenomenal race, really. Daytona typically has that period, like half the race where they just ride around the wall. You didn't really have a whole lot of that.
Yeah, they tried a few times and weren't able to get the line moving. I saw a single line break out, and it only took 5 laps or so, and somebody was charging back to the front.
Yeah, and there wasn't any real chaos. I mean, there was a couple of big wrecks, which are gonna happen, but it wasn't like one every 15 laps. And I think that's what made it like a good race, even though there wasn't any huge storylines really throughout the race.
Yeah, and I mean, there were storylines throughout the race. They just kind of came and went so fast. Like, who would you say overperformed in the Daytona 500? William Byron went home with the big trophy, but a lot of people ran up front throughout the day, which helps make a statement going forward into the season. Like, who do you think overperformed and maybe underperformed throughout the 500?
Overperformed, I would say Corey LaJoy. He's pretty much constantly in the top 5, top 8 the whole race. Like again, didn't do anything incredibly dumb. He almost looked like he belonged there for most of the race, which was refreshing to see. I know Corey LaJoy, sometimes he gets in those situations where he doesn't. I feel like he also doesn't feel like he belongs there. So when he gets in those positions, he tries too hard and then does a lot of stupid things. That's why I feel like was a surprise to really see. Not to see, but see him there for the longevity of the race, like he was.
Yeah, when he arrived in the top 10 there in the last 50 laps or so, he stayed in the top 10. I think people are starting to trust him as a pusher.
Yeah, he's definitely a good giver, not as much of a receiver.
Yeah. What did you think of Ryan Blaney's big move there?
I don't remember what it was.
All right. Wait.
Oh. Yeah, he pitted, and the rest of his team only needed fuel, right? One of those first pit stops. So he kind of
Yeah.
lost the draft, and he took that some sort of way and said that he wasn't going to be working with teammates in the race. And then it came down to, I think, stage 2, the ending of stage 2, I believe. Is that right? Or is it stage 1?
Yeah.
I think it was stage 2. And he comes out of turn 4 behind Cendric and just drops down, goes by him, and takes the stage win, which was
That's
awesome.
pretty
Because
awesome.
Ryan Blaney's been screwed so many times in tapered spacer racing with his other
He even got
teammates.
screwed
So,
earlier on too, or
yeah.
later on.
So that was pretty cool to see. Ryan Blaney overall throughout the whole weekend kind of had kind of a miserable 500 weekend when you wrap it up in a nutshell. He took some hard hits. He gave some somewhat angry but personality filled interviews, which I love. I think now that he's a champion, he feels like he has a place. Not that he didn't have a place before, but he has more, I guess, leg to stand on with his opinions. So I'm hoping to see more of that throughout the year.
Yeah, he might just have a little more confidence and swagger walking around with a champions patch on there.
Yeah, and we know, like, in his in-car in-car audio, he's a very fiery person, but you don't always really see that outside the car. So I'm hoping we get a little more of that action.
Yeah, that'd be good. That'd be good. He's definitely growing on me. It was towards the end of last season, and then obviously with the playoff execution and then winning the championship, it was an enjoyable championship. So Ryan Blaney, he's starting to kind of come around to the idea of liking Ryan Blaney, and then this was a strong week for him, both the way he talked and the way he ran. And then, as you said, though, he got screwed anyway. He took a hard hit, just like he always does. First they broke his neck, and they broke his wrist. And then we're going to send him right back to Atlanta next week to do more tapered spacer racing. That's another conversation for another day, whether we should still be tapered spacer racing or not. But we'll table that for next week.
I feel like there's like a protest against calling it tapered spacer racing. Now, I heard like everyone in any proper interview was just calling it super speedway racing.
Yeah. I like plate racing better than super speedway racing.
Yeah. I like tapered spacers.
More honest. It's a tapered spacer.
So
we're not restricting anything here. This is unrestricted.
The raw. So my choice of overperformer in the race was Corey LaJoie. What did you think?
I think overperforming, and if you could call it overperforming, was Joey Logano, who had a down year last year. And, he's a really good tapered spacer racing. He's a good tapered spacer racer. It's a hard one. We're going to have to really get that down. But yeah, Joey Logano spent a lot of time out front. And, we know he's the people in the field that can control two lines without wrecking the field. We're running out of them. And Joey Logano is one of them. So as much as I don't want to see Joey Logano win races, it's underwhelming to me. I feel like him being out front after the season he had last year and everything was big. So, Joey Logano, I'd say overperformed because he's just been kind of quiet for so long.
Yeah, even in his like post interviews, like I think you mentioned it early in the day when we were chatting. He didn't really have like that big doofy smile. He was just kind of ho hum about things.
Yeah. Yeah, it was very like somber for Joey. Normally he eventually throughout the interview he breaks out and like doing a thing.
Short track racing. So you asked who I thought overachieved in the race, and we both got our opinions with Joey Logano and Corey LaJoie. But I think who didn't overachieve, but definitely had the best car and a guy who came through the field multiple times, went through controversy, didn't melt down, had to have been Kyle Busch, in my opinion.
I'm not surprised about anything. Congratulations.
Oh my God. I can just see his face dropping that microphone. But I miss when Kyle Busch was the bad guy. Like that's what's
Yeah.
different about NASCAR right now that I really miss. Yeah, he ran so good. The 8 car out front. It was green this week, and it's some sort of nicotine gum or pouch. I don't know. And
Yeah.
it's something that makes you have nicotine. It's a nicotine delivery system.
Yeah, I saw it had like a
But
surgeon. The side of the car had a Surgeon General warning on the side of it.
Jesus, we gotta move the number up so we can fit more inappropriate sponsors in that big section. Yeah. Yeah, Kyle
Well,
Busch ran so good, which is so I'm glad it was him and not Denny that was up front for the majority of the race. And that, like I said, Kyle Busch being the bad guy was so fun.
yeah.
And God, I just miss heel Kyle Busch.
So he went through a lot of ups and downs throughout the race. I mean, he did a whole pace lap without a lug nut on the left front wheel.
Yeah.
I think there was another pit issue at some point in the race. I know he had to go
I'm
back.
pretty sure he was caught up in the big one.
Was he?
Yeah, but he didn't take that much damage.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, he went to the back of the field numerous times throughout the race and came back with ease and could lead lines, pull lines. He could make runs on his own. He definitely had a car that was probably built for Dale Earnhardt.
Yeah. RCR, I mean, they still know how to bring tapered spacer cars, like, to this day.
And then one other guy that I think showed just tremendous speed was Denny Hamlin. Looked like he rode a lot in the back, saving fuel, maybe trying to miss the wrecks. I'm not really sure. But when he wanted to, he could go to the front 3-4 laps from the back to the front of the field. Might have actually probably been the best car, or he's the best at it, one of the two. But those two guys definitely stood out amongst the field as far as I'm concerned, with just pure speed or maneuverability with the new package.
Yeah, I would agree. I didn't want to give Denny all that credit. I was trying to give it all to Kyle. But yeah, Denny ran good. I just dislike Denny so much at this point that when he's just leading, I just ignore him. Go do something else. I'm kidding. All right, so who underperformed? Who didn't really do it?
Who didn't do it? Yeah, Corey the Joy. Oh, underperformed altogether.
Underperformed. Yeah,
I'm
like
just,
who
I'm just used to
disappointed? Who was supposed to do better?
I'm just used to that being my default answer.
Yeah, you're right. Corey LaJoy is so like up and coming, but at the same time doesn't have great statistics that he could be the over or the under answer for most questions.
He could be the both in the same race.
He's a wild card.
But underperformed.
Find another driver that checks that many boxes.
Oh yeah, underperformed. I'd have to put that with the whole minus the sitting on the front row. Is the front row team? I mean, the restrictor plates is their jam. It has been for a decade now, and they really weren't factors. They got caught up in the wrecks, and it was kind of just disappointing. I expected a lot more, especially from Michael McDowell. Just that whole team. This is usually their jam. Now I guess you can add road courses to it, but yeah, they just weren't really there. And when they were in the wreck, so kind of a letdown.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't even thought about that. Todd Gilliland led a couple, decent chunk of laps, I believe, somewhere in the middle of stage 1 or 2, and which was impressive. But you're right. I sort of like, even before the big one broke out, they were mired back in traffic. I didn't see them up front very much.
Yeah.
There were a lot of Fords up front.
Yeah,
So you're absolutely right. I'd say my underperform.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
We'll have to cut that anyway. Yeah, so my underperformer for the race has got to be first of all, I'm biased, Daniel Suarez. Suarez ran up front for a lot of the race, and he just kept choosing the wrong lines. At least from my perspective, I'm a fan, and I'm watching him constantly. He got third in stage 2, but I felt like had he stayed with his partner, I don't remember if it was Chase or if it was Willie B, that he would have had an opportunity to be second and pull out at the last moment. But there was an instance of that. And then with about 13, or 14 to go, Ross was out front leading, and Suarez had the middle line under control, and he had an opportunity to get up in front of Ross and try to make a line. And that didn't, he didn't do it and got dumped back. Obviously, like I said, I'm biased for Suarez, so another underperformer is going to have to be Jimmy Johnson. It sucks to have to bring up 7-time Jimmy Johnson, but the duel, he just got caught up in a wreck, and it looks like it's not of his making. But then early in the 500, same kind of thing happens, and you feel like Denny Hamlin, Joey Logano, these guys spend a large chunk of the race staying out of the wrecks. So it's not like he doesn't have the ability to be in a different place and ride in a different part of the pack and avoid the wrecks. And it just kind of sucks that he didn't even get an opportunity to race or, be a part of the finish when it came down to it.
I feel like I would be interested in seeing a stat of how many laps Jimmy Johnson's actually completed since he's ran for Legacy. I feel like more times than not, he's involved in a very early wreck.
Yeah, and then he goes back out there and runs laps, and he's running like 10 or 11 laps down.
Yeah.
It's almost like he genuinely likes driving the race car, but doesn't want to compete. You know what I mean? He's like, you know what? I'm just going to show up, and we'll get caught up in a thing, and then I get to go out and drive for fun. It's no big deal. Like, if I want fresh tires, I'll put on fresh tires, and I'll pass cars all day long.
The other guy you mentioned was Daniel, or Danny Boy.
Yeah.
Do you think part of that has something to do with like the communication barrier? I'd imagine he's been around long enough that shouldn't be a problem still, but I mean, like you said, he got in the wrong lines, made the wrong moves, and that's happened for years. Do you think that's something to do with just communication in general?
Yeah, I do. I've been a fan of his since he won the Xfinity Championship. I jumped on his bandwagon. Well, they're on the pole reference. I always felt like he would have benefited from having a spotter that could speak Spanish. Jesus Christ. Yeah, no, if his spotter spoke Spanish, I feel like the communication is going to be quicker. He's going to be able to understand what's happening around him so much faster than having to translate what he's hearing into English. And it's the same with his crew chief. If he needs changes in the car and he's trying to say, I'm loose, I'm tight. Like, I've always wondered, did Suarez have to learn to stop saying understeer and oversteer when he got to America? Like, I don't know how Central America does it with racing etiquette, and if it's loose, tight, or if it's understeer or oversteer. But stuff as little as that, that's probably what hurts a lot of those guys, is having to literally learn how to talk about the car all over again and not be able to figure that out. And so, yeah, not just communication between him and his spotter not speaking the same language, but communication between the one car and himself as well.
Yeah.
Suarez and Ross are both out for themselves, and they're both very proud of it.
Yep. And speaking of Ross, what do you think of that? What do you think of that move that he made at the end of the race there?
It's an awesome move. It's obviously going to make a great commercial highlight, but with them all spinning down the infield and everything. But I feel like he had the move executed, and he just cut low too soon. I think that as soon as Byron's spotter told him the one's inside middle, and he's 3 wide top, that Byron was going to give him room, and Ross tried to take the dive to the bottom all in one move. I don't remember who that was underneath him that he spun off of, but yeah, I think he had enough time to make the move. It was a great move. And I think that if he had just gone middle and waited one more second and then went to the bottom, not only would he have gotten past Byron, he would have had help behind him.
Well, from the perspective that I saw it from, he had a huge run from whoever was pushing him, and they were closing up on Byron and Bowman super fast. There really wasn't really a good move to make. He couldn't really, even if he led up, I feel like he had so much push coming from behind him, he wasn't going to really be able to stop the momentum. Up top, I feel like wouldn't work, because I feel like that's just going to be a block wreck that we've seen over and over again. And that opening between the middle lane and the bottom lane was just big enough, and he was going, and he was going to fit. But I think where it went sour was Cendric was the car below him. He was also getting pushed. And when he got pushed, he kind of got fishtailed to the right a little as Ross was going down. And I feel like it was just horrible timing for both those things to happen. And then, they both went around.
Yeah. Either way, it was a great move, and I really wanted Ross. At that point, Ross was the person I was cheering for to win the Daytona 500. I want Trackhouse to win the Daytona 500. I mean, we're both pretty big Trackhouse fans over here, and obviously I'm a Suarez fan. You're a Ross fan, but it was exciting, right? I mean, to have your driver in it. I mean, it was you. You're the Ross fan here. What was that like? With one more lap to go, your driver had a shot at winning the Great American Race.
If that, even if he didn't win, but that pass would have worked going to the tri-oval, I probably would have just got up and ran straight through the wall of my house. It was exciting. That's one thing Ross never leaves on the table is excitement when he's in those positions.
Oh yeah, I like watching Ross.
It
was a great race.
I liked it when Ross and Ross and Daniel were out front working together, sort of. And you just had the bag boys up there. What you gonna do?
What you gonna do? Your food. I've eaten at Wendy's like 3 times in the past like 2 weeks or something now. The sponsorship doesn't work.
Yeah. I love the pretzel baconator.
It is. I almost turned my back on the pretzel baconator, but you're the one that sold me on that because it's soft. It's got to be soft. You can't eat a hard pretzel bun. That's annoying.
I hope that Trackhouse. So, not to get into like just a food conversation, but Wendy's got into the sport somewhat heavy-ish last year with Noah Gragson, and Noah's a super good spokesman. Well, I guess kind of for sponsors. Like he's really good with engagement and pushing product.
I mean, he's good for sponsors. He's not good for himself.
Yeah. But like Trackhouse kind of is taking the Wendy's. They're not. I guess they're going to be a primary in some races, but like they've taken it and they've done so much social media with it and promotion with it, and they got the Bag Boys merch out, which is pretty sick. I would love to see like some kind of in-store activation with Trackhouse at Wendy's.
Oh my god, that'd be amazing.
I know. You haven't seen a fast food like that much of a tie-in since like Dale Earnhardt with Burger King and Bill Elliott with McDonald's. And there's been plenty of
those little number 27 cars.
Yeah, and there's been plenty of like fast food sponsorship in NASCAR since then, but since those mid-90s runs, you just don't really see that activation. So it'd be pretty neat to see that tie-in. And if anyone can pull it off, it's Justin Marks.
Yeah, I agree. Because everything he seems to touch is being revolutionized in some new exciting way. They've got a MotoGP team. And, I used to go to trackhouse.com a lot to like look at merch or kind of see what was going on. And it changed. If you type Trackhouse in, it's now Trackhouse International.
Oh, really?
It's just a worldwide media like conglomerate or company, or I'm not really sure what the phrasing was. But yeah, like it's Trackhouse International now, and then you've got to click to get to the race team, like out of the different categories of what Trackhouse is. So they grew that fast.
I'm surprised it's international and not worldwide.
Dale.
So
I like it. It's so much fun. Having like the pit bull thing and everything. Like I watched a little bit of Rain Delay coverage. He's got the hat with the 1 and the 99 on.
Oh yeah.
That's cool.
Oh,
I like having Pitbull around.
Speaking of pre-race, what did you think of The Rock's electrifying start to the 500?
It was awesome. Like it's not the best start to the 500, or I mean the best start to a race I've ever heard, but it was really good. Usually, well, okay, so it's like 50-50. We get people that are just like, drivers, start your engines, please. Yeah. And yeah, so like The Rock, The Rock bringing the what does he say, that electrifying.
He was electrifying for sure.
Amazing.
I tuned on it tuned in on it on TV at work before I left, and he was on pit road getting interviewed in this big leather jacket. And then I flipped back real quick before I headed out to the truck, and that's when he was doing the gentlemen start your engines. But he instantly had no leather coat, and he looked like just a straight Guido. He had the black tank top on, flexing it up. He had me going.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, The Rock knows how to work the crowd.
What The Rock is cooking!
I wish he would have done that.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, that was an amazing race. Like you and I talked about it. Like the race itself played out so well that it was hard to sort of pick out what happened and everything like that. So at the end of the day, the biggest disappointment I have with it is the one lap being kind of robbed at the end. You know, it's for a good reason and everything, but when they come off turn 4, you think, I'm getting one more lap of racing. I had to wait all weekend. I had to wait through all this rain. I had to wait through this winter. I had to wait through just everything. And then, yeah, white flag comes out and the race is over before they even get to turn 1. That was really disappointing.
Yeah, and I mentioned like I had no real emotion either way when William Byron won, and that's probably not completely fair. I feel like some of it, yeah, like you said, it was just like the deflation of not seeing the ending. With no doubt, NASCAR made the right call. I mean, there's cars sliding back up onto the track. You can't race back to the line in those conditions, but yeah, it just kind of hurt my heart a little bit to not see how that last lap was going to play out.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those situations where I'm not walking around being like, I wish they'd do it this way, or I wish they'd do it that way. We've had enough of that the last 10 years. They made the right call. But obviously, it's going to feel tough, only getting 497.5 miles. So, yeah, but that's not the end of tapered spacer racing, though.
No.
Next week, we're going to Atlanta. And for those who haven't heard, Atlanta is now a tapered spacer track. They went and they put tapered spacers in the corners. They put tapered spacers in the grandstands. They put tapered spacers in the driver's fire suits. So it's going to be a dangerous race.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Tapered
What do you
spacer
think? What's going to
buttholes.
happen? Oh, my goodness.
The way
Tapered.
you can cut down on the wind resistance on exit.
Yeah. Yeah, get the drag out of there. Out of the wind tunnel.
You say who's my pick for Atlanta?
Yeah, I mean, who do you think? Who do you think's gonna win, and who do you think's gonna overperform again? Atlanta's a little different than Daytona. You got to really work with your track position because it's more narrow.
Yeah, narrow's not as good as wide, but it's better than length, I guess.
Not what I heard. Someone's lying to somebody.
So I know last week I picked Kyle Busch to win the 500, and I was damn near close. But with that being said, tapered spacers, Atlanta, Kyle Busch. I feel like he knows his choices of tracks to win on are probably pretty limited this year. Probably 8-9 tracks that he has a real chance of winning. The rest in the right circumstance, but I feel like Atlanta's one of them, and with the speed they had at Daytona, there's a little more handling evolved at Atlanta. But I think Kyle Busch is going to be right up in that mix to take the win home. He's my number one pick. If I had to have a tied for second choice, Corey LaJoie. It's speed at Daytona. He's had speed at Atlanta before. That's like would be awesome to see pick. And then tied for that, I guess William Byron going back to back wouldn't be that surprising either. But I'm gonna go with Kyle Busch.
Yeah, that's a good pick. Kyle Busch is going to continue to be strong. Maybe you need plate track or not. We'll still have to see what all the teams have going forward. My pick for Atlanta, I think I'm going to go out on a limb for this one. I'm going to say Tyler Reddick.
Why do you say
the
that?
Toyotas looked really good at Daytona. Yeah, the Toyotas looked really good at Daytona. And Tyler Reddick, he's hungry. Atlanta's going to be a lot more of a handling-based track. Narrow track position's going to matter. I just feel like Tyler Reddick, that's going to suit him a little better. And it's good. Obviously you can't predict everything, but I think the race is going to move up towards the wall a little more than Daytona did, so that they can conserve the cars and log some laps. And it's not going to break out into an insanely huge pack. I really think it's going to kind of be a half and half kind of race where, yeah, it's a tapered spacer race, but you've got to be in the top 10 to get to the front. And so I think that Tyler Reddick's going to be around there, running in the top 5 throughout the day. And yeah, I just have a feeling,
Gonna unleash that nasty beast.
Yeah, he's going to do it at some point. So it might as well be this weekend at Atlanta.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised on that. He's good everywhere. So there's no doubt about that. And the one thing, like, rewind a little bit to what you said about you don't think it's going to be a pack. So Atlanta obviously is going to age. And I believe they kind of said like they don't really envision it to be a super pack type track as the track ages and it gets more abrasive with tires. So handling is obviously going to come back into effect. Do you think that's going to happen in the near future? Or you think that's going to be further down the road?
I think it's going to happen sooner than people think. Atlanta obviously was it was an abrasive racetrack before. And similar to Darlington, they've repaved Darlington a few times, but the asphalt continues to wear down to a place where it eats up tires. So it's not about the asphalt they're pouring or the way they're pouring it. I think that area of the country, that's just the way that track is eroding with the sand or the whatever is in the air in West Virginia and Georgia. Darlington's in South Carolina, I guess. I'm sorry, West Virginia. But yeah, I don't. So I do think that within 5 or 6 years, the track is going to start to get abrasive, and it's going to behave like old Atlanta, because old Atlanta was super banked anyway. It was just so worn out that you couldn't run wide open. So I don't know. It's going to be even crazier than it was before once that surface wears out, and if they don't repave it, we're going to have a really good, old school Atlanta type tire wear track back again.
Yeah, I'm kind
Hopefully.
of hoping it'd be awesome if like early in a run you get the pack type racing with the with the high grip and you're you got the fresh tires, but as they wear off, it'd be really cool if it starts as a pack run and the run kind of tapers off to kind of a slipping and sliding type run. Like if you could manage to package both those things into one race, I think that'd be the best race of the year.
That's brilliant. You're absolutely right. Daytona behaved that way before they repaved it back in, I think, 07, 08 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the lines, you stay in a pack and eventually handling becomes so much of an issue that the lines break apart. People can't take pushes yeah, that'd be amazing. The biggest trick that you got to pull off there is getting them to not wreck so that tire wear does happen.
Yeah.
And they don't just pit 7, 8 times a race.
Yeah. That'd be the trick for sure. You got to let the race run organically. So that way.
Or no caution. We're not going to throw a caution for anything.
We're just going to turn them off.
Yeah. The caution light doesn't work anymore. Green only.
Yeah.
NASCAR's going green. It sells itself.
So, I guess we have a game to play. Try to solo something.
I want
new.
to play a game.
All right. Well, what I got for you, I got 3 quotes from over the weekend. I'm going to read them off. Your job is to choose who said it. They could be out of context. They could be controversial. We don't know yet. We're about to find out. We don't have a name for this.
Okay.
We don't have a name for the game yet, but we will if this doesn't suck too much. So first quote is, "It's a lot of fun until it sucks." Who said this quote during Daytona weekend?
It's a lot of fun till it sucks. Well,
and it was not. Well, before you guess, and it was not Brian Blaney's sister after the celebration after the 500.
Yeah, that sounds like something I'd say. No, yeah, so it's a lot of fun till it sucks. Well, got to think of somebody who got caught up in a lot of wrecks. Ryan Blaney. Ryan Blaney looked like a guy who was having a lot of fun until it sucked, Took a head injury, so he could have said anything, I guess, huh?
Is that your pick, Ryan Blaney?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Ryan Blaney.
All right. It was not Ryan Blaney, and it was not Ryan Blaney's sister after the wrong hole was entered. It was actually Joey Logano. That was his reaction to how the race ended, with the kind of chaos wrecks at the end. Frankly, he was having fun until it sucked. I guess that's where he's coming from.
Yeah, well, he ran up front a lot, I guess. So makes sense.
So you're 0-1. Second quote is, "Crew guys, get your head out of your ass and stop fucking up." This was said during the 500.
I want to just say Kyle Busch. That's because it sounds like something. I just begged for old Kyle Busch, right? And he had the wheel nut that the tire almost came off, right? So,
Yep.
Kyle Busch. I want to believe it's Kyle Busch.
You're wrong again. You were close.
Oh my god.
But Kyle Busch, I feel like Kyle Busch is more calm now because he doesn't have to say things, because this one was said by the boss himself, Richard Childress.
Oh, okay.
And he overrode radio communications after that, and that's what he said. And I think he followed it up with saying, "We have a chance. We would win this thing if you guys would quit fucking up." And Kyle's crew chief came on and said, "Don't worry, we will." I feel like they treat Richard Childress kind of like a senile grandfather who like says a bunch of racist jokes all the time, and you're like, "Okay, Pep, sit down."
We're gonna win. Don't worry.
All right.
We'll show you some trophies when we get home.
We'll let you pet the dead animals. He has that whole museum of dead animals.
Yeah, you're right.
We'll let you feed the bears. All right, so last quote. See if you can get one, or if you just suck this much. It was said post race. It's the last lap, and I've seen him do a lot of dumb shit, and we're not friends. So that's that.
Okay, I'm gonna take contextual data from the podcast and say that was Austin Cindric after Ross Chastain ran into him.
You're close, but you're wrong again. It's actually
oh my goodness.
It's actually Corey LaJoy talking about Austin Cindric. But in fairness, who hasn't done some dumb shit after a lot of margaritas from Chili's?
Yeah. Catch me outside. Catch me outside the Chili's.
Yeah. I mean, things probably got weird Sunday during that rain delay, and apparently Austin Cindric did some dumb shit.
Yeah. I mean, they're not friends.
Yeah, clearly.
So. Clearly not friends. That was also I wanted to go with Ross and Cindric because they had that BKR relationship.
Oh yeah, I forgot all about that.
When they drove for Brad Keselowski Racing.
Yep.
I feel like I can do the 7 layers of the Kevin Bacon thing with NASCAR drivers, but I got all the questions wrong. I can tell you who's related to who all over the place.
All right. Well,
but I don't know.
I think the game could be fun. I think next week you should bring me some quotes, and I'll bring you some quotes, and we'll kind of do a little points matchup, and see who knows.
Yeah, you can see it's not so easy. Yeah,
seemed pretty easy to me. I'm 3 for 3.
Okay, yeah, picking the quotes.
All right, guys. Well,
all right, man. Yeah, it was a good episode.
Yeah, you want to wrap
the Dale episode?
You want to wrap it up? Doing it for Dale?
Yeah, doing it for Dale.
All right.
I enjoyed that one. I enjoyed that 500. Can't wait for next week.
I know.
I'll catch you there.
Daytona 500 2.0. See you guys then.
Later.